Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. In a world where everybody asks you why, I'm here to ask why not. So sit back and relax or walk and listen and join me on this journey as we try to answer this never-ending question: what makes people say, why not? Hey guys, welcome back to Why Not. So today we are interviewing Louisa Daubney. She is a time design coach. So she's different. She's not time management, time design coach who works with female solopreneurs or, solopreneurs in general, because we talk today actually a lot about how going from a corporate world to solopreneurship can be very, very difficult, and how we can feel like you have to do everything and it's hard to take time off, and the importance of doing that. I found like this is a really, really interesting podcast, especially for myself, because I definitely struggle with these things, even though I've been doing it for a couple of years. So really worth the listen. I hope you enjoy. Hi guys, welcome back to Why Not. So today I have Louisa Daubney. She is a time design coach. Now, you're probably wondering what a time design coach is, but Louisa is going to tell you all about that because I think it's fantastic and more people need it. Welcome to the podcast, Louisa. How are you?
Oh, well, it's great to be here, Chrissy. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's a lovely sunny day here, and I'm looking forward to going off on holiday in a couple of days. So yeah, everything's good. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you for coming on. So do you want to tell everybody what you do?
Okay, so yes, as you mentioned, I'm a time design coach, and what I do is I help female solopreneurs who are feeling kind of really frustrated or frazzled at the end of their days of work, because they're like, oh man, that wasn't how I wanted my day to go. I've worked a really long day. Now I'm really frazzled and I just want to sit and watch Netflix for the rest of the evening. And that's not how I want my day to be. I left my corporate 9 to 5 because I had too much to do. I was getting burnt out. And the same thing's happening to me now that I'm my own boss. And I'm already starting to describe myself as my own worst boss. And that's not what I want for people who have like awesome passions, doing amazing jobs. And I want them to like really make the most of their time so that they can get stuff done, get their work done, but enjoy it and still have an evening. So the design bit comes in because it's about helping female solopreneurs to create a day that works for them, because we're all different. There's no one size fits all. There's lots of time management books out there that say we should, I don't know, get up at 5 o'clock and do this, do that. But it's like, what works for you, your needs, your environment, your family, it's going to be different. So as a coach, what's really exciting is that I get to just ask questions and help people to think through, yeah, actually that will work really well for me, or I want a bit more of this, I want to do more exercise, there's this passion project that I wanted to do, how can I fit that into my day? I'm not telling anyone what to do, I'm just helping them to think in a slightly different way and create a day that works better for them and who they are.
Yeah, I love that. And I like the way you say as well, like, the it's different for different people, because like I don't know how many different people I've heard about the 5 a.m. club and get this on and do your morning routine, what's it, meditate and journal, all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, some things work really well for people. I guess I as a coach, I love asking myself reflective questions. And what's really powerful about just asking questions and reflecting on your day is, oh yeah, no, I really enjoyed that part and it worked really well for this reason. So a big part of the work that I want to be doing with my clients is not only saying, what works for you, it's like, what's actually not working for you? What are the sort of the blockages that people may not think about? When are those times in your day, for example, when you have that slump, and it's often like, I guess, in the afternoon. So what's the best thing that you can be doing for yourself when there's that afternoon slump? And again, as you say, it's different for everyone. Some people be like, I want to go out and have a run. For me, that's the last thing I'd want to do. What I would be wanting to do is maybe go out into my garden and enjoy just being in nature, planting some seeds. And I was doing this yesterday, and it was a really, really nice thing because it was nourishing. I was kind of seeing the fruits of my labor. And it just really took me out of myself. And I guess now, if I guess I'm talking to you because I'm thinking about female solopreneurs. That's my audience now. So we're like not in the corporate world. We're not in big office blocks. We've got more freedom to make decisions about how we spend our time. And that can often be quite scary. It's like, oh God, what do I do? I think I still need to conform to how things used to be. I shouldn't be putting the washing on like when I should be working. And what am I doing gardening at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? But if that's something that takes you out of yourself and gives you a break, because part of my work is about helping people to look after their well-being and to take time for self-care. And when we're working, again, when we were working maybe in a big corporate, we might not have taken regular breaks, but it's so important for our brains. I don't know about you, how long you can like kind of keep working before you take a break, but even like 10-15 minutes every, I think it's like 60 to 75 minutes we should be taking breaks. If we can go out and just do something we really enjoy, does it matter what it is if it just takes us out of ourselves so that we're then refreshed and ready to go again? I think that's a good thing.
That actually, the break thing, that takes me back to my leaving cert, which was a long time ago. That was like the A levels in the UK. And like that, we did a study thing, and they're like, you should take a break every 15 minutes. I was like, no. But like, I kind of forget, like, I might be studying for hours or working for hours, but I get distracted every like 10 minutes. It's just the way I am. I found out later in life that I had ADHD, but like giving yourself that time to block it off. Like if I have an hour to do something, I'll do stuff. But I'm like, I have 4 hours, I won't get anything done.
Yeah.
So like, I like the idea of like taking a break every hour and just being like, you're not going to break the flow. You'll be fine. Take your time.
Yeah. Definitely. It's funny, sort of linked to that, and it's kind of like the opposite almost. So I don't know if anyone listening to this in the future will sort of sort of recognize this, but speaking to a couple of friends recently, sometimes I get so caught up in something that I don't even want to like kind of have a loo break. It's like, oh come on, that is ridiculous. I'm so stuck in what I'm doing and I'm enjoying it, and it's like you just want to get that thing done. And I think that's another thing that we often get caught up in. Oh, we just want to get that one thing done and then we can stop. And that can be quite addictive. But I don't know if anyone else is familiar with that. Oh, I really need to like maybe have a loo break, but I'm just going to carry on. And it's like,
oh yeah, that's my other side. I'm one or the other.
let's actually like take that break, even if it's just for a few minutes. And what I love is when I do take a break, and I'm not saying I'm a time design coach, but I'm still a female solopreneur. I'm still a human being who doesn't always listen to her own advice, but when I do feel the difference. And there's such a, I think there's a bit of a sort of tussle, and so much of this comes from what we're told almost about how we should work. And obviously, it's all in the word should. We all want to work in different ways, but we often feel like, feel guilty if you like take a break. I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking a loo break, of course, but I think sometimes we feel like we should be just chained to our desks. And that's why, for me, the time design thing is really cool, because it's about getting your work done in a way that works for you. And as women, we have cycles, and there'll be times in the month when we want to do more of one thing than another. It may depend on our mood at the time, but I'd like to think that if we're running our own businesses, we have a bit more choice as to what we do and when. And maybe we'll come on in a minute to structure, because I think there's safeguards we can almost put around ourselves so that we don't kind of completely lose track of what we're doing and just focus on the things that we love to do. That's a big part of it, but it's about creating a framework that works for us so that we can do more of the stuff we enjoy when we want to do it.
Yeah, I love what you said there about the loo break as well. Sometimes I find I'm bet into something, and you're there for like an hour and you're just typing, and then you stop and you're like, oh, hold on a minute. You don't even notice, and you're like, gone.
Yeah.
Do you feel like solopreneurs feel like they can't take breaks, especially female ones, I suppose?
Potentially. I mean, this isn't something that's come up in the conversations I've had so far, but I think if I think about myself and like friends that I talk to, I think, I think people classically like take a break at lunchtime, but may not want to take an hour. I mean, I think it's a really good question that maybe I should do some polling in, because I love doing polls on LinkedIn. But I think there's still, I feel that personally speaking, I'm always turning into my own worst boss. I feel like I should be I'm always like cracking the whip on myself. That particularly on days when things aren't going brilliantly, and it could start with not having a great sleep. And so it kind of resonates with your recent podcast about the importance of sleep, that I think on these, when things aren't going as we wish, I think there's possibly a tendency for us to say to ourselves, well, do we kind of deserve to take a break right now? Have we done enough? Have we kind of ticked off enough things on our to-do list to actually have that break? And I think it kind of circling back, I think the most important thing, and again, this comes back to my sort of designing your day your way, it comes down to, what do you want for yourself?
Yeah.
How many breaks do you actually want to take in your day? And I think there's, again, thinking back to the corporate kind of world that often, we've come from, how many breaks do we used to take? And that doesn't have to be how we live our lives now and how many breaks we take now. And I think what's exciting is they don't have to be long, but they have to be regular, as a way of looking after ourselves. So I think it's probably quite easy for us to feel like we shouldn't. And again, as I said before, particularly on the days when we feel things haven't gone right. And I know what I'm like. If I feel like, oh, Louisa, you haven't done a great job, you haven't done all those things that you wanted to do today, so let's just carry on working through, and let's eat more chocolate. That's a good idea. And have another cup of tea. And you just know that you're just getting into this terrible vicious cycle where things just get worse and worse, and then you probably work a little bit longer past the time you really want to finish work, and then you maybe have a glass of wine or two, then you watch an extra episode of Netflix, and then you're getting into a really bad cycle. So this is why, for me, structure is so important, because it kind of keeps you not necessarily on the straight and narrow and not constrained as such, but it gives you that kind of, I think, routine that's really important. So you have good sleep patterns, and then you can take those times for breaks. And then the quality of the work that you do and the decisions that you make are going to be so much better.
Yeah, that's it's interesting saying, like, you should work more. That's kind of something I struggled with a while ago, because I would say I work in a gym, so I start at like 6 o'clock in the morning, normally finish at 10. I'm like, right, you're home by 12. You can get a load of work done before you go back at 6. And I used to put loads of stuff down, and then I'd be getting frustrated that I wasn't getting through anything on my to-do list. And I was like, no, Chrissy, you've been working for 4 hours. You're tired. You need to stop for a little bit. You can recharge, and then you can do maybe one of those things, maybe two of those things. And that has made things a lot better, because now I'm not panicking that I'm getting nothing done. But even then, I'm still like, oh, I should be doing more. But you're like, you need to rest too.
Absolutely. And it's all to do with that word should. And where does that come from? Why do we put ourselves on these hooks where we just feel like we're not doing enough? And again, something that I really love to ask, I want to be asking my future clients about is, okay, so we've created this structure together. You've got the day that's working for you. Let's reflect on how well it's actually going after a couple of weeks or a month or so, and let's make some tweaks to the system. Because as you're saying, it's easy to forget. Okay, so if I've been working for 4 hours, well, that's a really big chunk of your day as well. So you need to have a break, but we often, our minds kind of get ahead of ourselves. The dopamine hit often comes from, or certainly for me, getting stuff done.
Yeah.
But it's like, is that actually good for my mental state and my physical state?
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to feel at the end of the day if I've sort of run myself ragged? Because as solopreneurs, we're not here just to run businesses. We're friends. We have our partners, our families that we're connected with, and I want people to be able to kind of create more balance in their lives, so that they can enjoy their work but also enjoy the family time, and ideally spend time looking after themselves and doing some passion projects. But it's about trying to find a balance between all of those things. And I think breaks are really important, and observing how we work is also really important.
Yeah,
And that's very personal.
No, the way you saying that thing as well, like having time for people. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen that kind of meme or whatever, and it's like, oh, I left my corporate job so I could have more time for myself. Now I'm self-employed and I work 7 days a week.
Yeah. And I guess, and I think maybe this is a good time to talk about goals, because I'm a big fan of goals, not just because I'm a coach. And I've come through this the hard way, if you like. So I've always been I like writing business plans and sort of saying, this is what I want to achieve, all the big picture stuff. But it wasn't until I joined this business community that we're both in, that I started to realize, okay, great, yeah, business plan's brilliant. How many of your listeners actually have those business plans to hand? How many people don't actually know where they are, or are they gathering dust? Because what I've learned, which is so helpful, is yeah, have a business plan, have your yearly intentions. That's great. But it's really important to break them down into bite-sized chunks so that then you can create realistic daily and weekly actions that link into them. And so what I love is the idea of having 90-day goals and linking them into what I do on a daily basis. I mean, it's quite a lot of work, I guess, to create those business plans. And I guess working with somebody on that is probably really helpful. But then it's a case of, okay, so if I've got my plan for the year, I've got my plan for the next quarter. Let's break it down into what I'm actually realistically going to be able to do on a daily and weekly basis. I think it gives us a really solid structure to work from. And I don't know about you, but I'm a real glutton for shiny new courses and things that can help me in my business. But they distract me from what I would like to be doing, not what I should be doing, but what I actually have set out to do. So I think having frameworks helps us to stay a little bit more on track and hopefully avoids us from working like 7 days a week. Because I guess part of being, if you've come from a corporate background, many corporates and the charity I used to work with or for, you had your goals for the year, and that gave you really solid structure. But a lot of these things as solopreneurs, they're not there unless we put them in ourselves. And I guess another question kind of related back to what you were saying before, but still comes into what kind of we lose by being solopreneurs is there's no one sort of tapping us on the shoulder saying, okay, you've got your annual leave. How many days do you want to use in the next couple of months? You're going to lose it in a couple of months' time. That doesn't happen to us as solopreneurs. So it's really important that we create some of these structures so that we're not spending 7 days on our businesses. We're seeing our families. We're actually having holidays and not working during those holidays. So I think the more structure we can put in at the beginning of the year, and I'm still learning about this.
Oh yeah, no, look, I've been in it for years and I'm still a disaster at it. Like I do the 90 days first quarter, then I forget to do the second quarter, and then I'm like, why am I not doing this? But same thing with like taking holidays. Like I find it very hard to take holidays because when you're a solopreneur, you're not working, you're not earning a lot of the time. So it can be very hard to go. You're kind of like, oh yeah, well I have my annual leave. That's fine. If I don't work these days, I'm only losing this much. But how much am I going to spend when I'm away? And whereas people are otherwise, like my fiance he'll just book the week off and he still gets paid.
Yeah. And that's a tricky thing. But I guess it's still, I'm thinking, yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm off on holiday next week for half term. And the great thing is that because it's half term, it's like, right, that's a good time to have off, and we're going away with family. And I was thinking, so when was the last time I had a week off? If I had been working for my previous employer, well, I'd have had at least a week off by now. And I think I took a day or two at Easter, but I'm a bit vague, really. And I guess, yeah, something for maybe first anyone who's listening who's a female solopreneur or a male solopreneur, is, have you booked in, or how many annual leave days do you want to take this year? Again, when we work, in corporate 9 to 5, you have an allocation. Now we kind of have to choose it, or we go away when our partners book time off. But I think if we can sort of set aside a certain number of days in the year, and say, right, this is protected time for me to look after myself, that's a really good place to start, and to break it up during the year. So a week here, a week there, a couple of days around a bank holiday. These are really important things to do, but it's so easy to forget.
Yeah, like I'm the worst for it. Like I've taken a couple of days to go away recently, and I took one full weekend because I don't work Sundays, and like that, the day I was going away, I went to work, then went home, went to the airport, and the next day I got home, and my boss did the early class, and I did the class before we when I came back. So I was like literally back there and back, like.
But how did you feel? So I'm putting a question to you now. How did it feel having that time off? Did you enjoy it? Were you able to like relax and just switch off from work just for a day or something?
Yeah, like it was only away for 2 days, so it was kind of grand. It was kind of very bit of a whirlwind. So I suppose, yeah, ish. I didn't really do a lot. I read my book a bit one day, and then the other day we were going home, so we wandered around the place for a while. But yeah, it was okay. And then the full weekend I took off was the last day of the Six Nations, so I was just in full rugby mode. I didn't care what was happening in the gym.
Brilliant. And
Yeah.
and that's sort of like because I thought, yeah, something else that's really important to me is getting into a flow state. And I think that's not necessarily just something you do at work, but if the fact that you said you completely forgot about the gym when you were at the Six Nations, I mean that feels like a really great way of spending your time if you're able to kind of get out of your day to day and focus on something else. And I guess if it's the rugby, it's hard, yeah, it's hard to focus on anything else,
Yeah.
which is a good thing.
Oh, I did the whole day, all the games. I don't care who's going to be playing. I'm like, nope.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. So like, what do you like? Why do you think they struggle with, you know, um, their own like? Sorry. Why do you think solopreneurs struggle with their own structure or organization skills?
Um, so I think part of it is what I've just been sort of mentioning about. I think we still um think of ourselves as sort of working for a company, and it's almost
Mhm.
like we can't quite shift our mindset and our behaviors from working for a big company to working for ourselves. And I remember speaking to somebody recently who she was saying, I when I worked for a big company, I kind of prided myself on my efficiency, and my organizational skills, and now I'm a solopreneur. They seem to have disappeared, and it's harder for me to manage my time well. Others have said, and you've mentioned it already, yeah, the lack of structure is a real struggle for people. And I
Mhm.
remember mentioning this to somebody when I first started my training to become a personal performance coach, and I said to her, I have no structure to my day. And I don't think she understood how frustrating that was for me. And so it was kind of hard to explain. But I think one of the things that comes up for me in regard to, yeah, how to be organized, how to manage my time well from people I speak to is how do I structure my day? And I guess this is the sort of $1 million question. And I'm not saying that I don't have the answer, because I've already said I ask the questions rather than give the answers. But I think this is where it's so exciting with the work I do, because everyone's structure is going to be different. So that's another thing. It's kind of, yeah, how do we structure our days to work well for us? And every day is going to be different. So it might be a slightly different structure every day. And then the other thing is discipline. And I find it really interesting when I'm such a geek about this, and I guess I'm just really interested in how to create more ease in our systems, and why do we do things differently? How are our behaviors similar or different from working in the corporate 9 to 5 to working for ourselves? And I think mobile phones have a role to play. And because I think for a lot of people, social media and mobile phones and email notifications, I think this is a more of an issue for solopreneurs than for people in corporates. I might be wrong. And I think we probably, if we're not entirely clear about what we're doing in a given day, it's very easy to get distracted by our mobile phones, and just take a look or do some scrolling, and then it becomes sort of, it's the word doom scrolling, where we're like, oh, let's compare ourselves to our fellow solopreneurs, and oh, they're doing that, and oh, I should be doing this. And then you get into a really negative mindset. And I don't think we do that quite to the same extent if we're working for a big corporate,
Mhm.
because we probably wouldn't be comparing ourselves quite as much. So I think mobile phones is also another big issue. A fascinating fact, which I'd like to understand how they came up with this stat, was when we get distracted. Now, I don't know if you have to be like in a really deep place of work when this happens, but I've heard that it can take you 20 minutes to get back into a task once you get distracted, which to me feels really scary. So again, I don't know if it's if you're in like a really deep piece of work, really thinking something through, and then you get distracted, it takes you 20 minutes to get back into it. But this is something else, I think. Yeah, mobile phones, just things that we allow ourselves to be distracted by, can cause us to struggle to manage our time well. Now, I do appreciate that when we have families, if we've got young kids at school, you know, we need to be on call for them. But I guess I think I have a question for clients about how well are they managing their relationships with their mobile phones, or are their mobile phones managing them? And I think if we're not clear on how we're spending our day, it's very easy to kind of go to our mobile phones for comfort. And I know when I'm procrastinating and when I'm not focused on what I should be doing, because I'm checking my phone too regularly. It's like, oh, what's going on in the news? And oh, what's going on Instagram? It's like, Louisa, is this the time when I should be doing this? No, but it's comforting. I was like, no, that's not what I should be doing right now. So I think, those are some of the key things that I think solopreneurs struggle with.
Yeah, no, I absolutely do that myself. I've actually, during the day between 9 and 5, I block my Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I don't need to block Facebook. I don't really do much on it. But sure, then I go on to Reddit, or I play a game on my phone. And it's like, oh, right, you've run out of lives. It's by half an hour for the life. And I'm like, I put that away now. Half an hour later. It's that comfort, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But I think my question back to myself on this is like, okay, so this is what you've decided to do. You know, what are you not doing? And why do you not want to do that thing? And there may be a very good reason why you don't want to do that thing. But I've got some ideas, to maybe share a bit later about if there's something sticky that you don't really want to get into, a few sort of things that have worked quite well for me, and come back to that.
Well, now that you're going to say it, what are these tips? Let's hear. What do you have tips for people struggling to get, structure in their day? Or
okay, cool. Well, I guess so I've mentioned the first one already, but I think it's worth sort of describing again, because I feel like it's really important, and that's all about being really clear about where you want to go in, for example, your business, with your well-being. What are the things you want to be achieving in the year? Because it's, with the best will in the world, if we set an intention and call out to the universe, I want to do this thing, the universe will help to a degree. But in terms of helping you on a daily basis, the universe can only place a certain role. It really comes down to us being disciplined and clear about, what are we doing day to day, and how is it contributing towards our longer term goals? So I'm a big fan of having fairly strong frameworks, which also have flex in them, but keep us on track and keep us from buying all of those bright, shiny courses that you may have to pay for that aren't always free, buying all those books that sound brilliant. And I am, somebody who's bought many books from my bookshop, and haven't read them all, but they fill me with comfort because I know they're there. But as I say, it's about clear goals, yearly intentions, quarterly goals, working day to day, week to week, on how you're moving forward towards those quarterly goals. And what's also really important is to reflect back on those goals and how you're doing towards them at the end of each month, and then celebrating at the end of the quarter. And the whole celebration piece is only a new thing that I've started doing. I celebrated by going to a spa to have like a facial at the end of March, and it was really nice to do that. And being a coach, I'm a big fan of reflecting. So it's not about beating ourselves up for the things we haven't done. It's about celebrating what we have done, and then reflecting back. Okay, so we wanted to do those other things. Well, what stopped us from doing them? Do we still want to do them? But it's about learning about ourselves. So what were the sticking points? So yes, so the first tip is really goals, making sure you're clear. Not laboring over them too much, but just having a sense of where you're moving, so then you can see your progress on a monthly and quarterly basis. So that's the first one. Linked to that, and again, it's about putting more ease into the system, because I'm a real geek for, okay, so what are the processes that I can put in place? What can I do that can make this thing easier? Am I going to repeat this thing? So habits is my second tip. And it's taken me a while, but this kind of links into the structure that I'm creating with my day. Is what are the things that I'm noticing I'm doing on more than an occasional basis? So it could be, you've mentioned already, Chrissy, social media posts. Now, a good way for us to promote ourselves is through social media. And sometimes we may be more inclined to do it than others. But what's really important is that is a regular habit. So how do you create that into a fun, regular habit that means that you're not having to sort of tussle with your brain. Oh, I don't know if I want to do this today. What creates more ease around that habit? Is it because you do it a certain time every day, every couple of days, however often you do it? But can you create a habit around posting on social media so that it's just something that you do? And ideally you think in advance, I guess, about what it is that you want to post, so you've got some kind of plan, and then you do the posting and you go through the process, as I say, on a regular basis, same time, same day, just so that it's something that's starting to become a routine in your week or your month. So yes, so my second tip is, what habits can you create that you can add into your structure, so you're starting to kind of think about how you're blocking out your time. So I think that's really important. And the third one is, so if you've got a tricky task that you're working on, or you want to go for a run, for example. Now, Chrissy, I think you're somebody who's much more into fitness than me, so I'd be interested to know how many of your clients may face this. So like, if you've got a tricky email to write, or you want to go for a run but you don't really want to do it, I'm really interested in like how we set ourselves up for success. So with the run example, what would work for me if I was a runner would be, the night before I go for a run, I choose the music that I want for my run. So I'm already starting to think, I'm actually quite excited about listening to that piece of music tomorrow. And I've got my headphones ready. My running gear is all clean. I've got my shoes there. So I'm already creating conditions so that when I, for example, not that this is me, but somebody else who wants to go for a run, you're ready at sort of 7 o'clock tomorrow, the following morning, because you've got everything in place. Your brain can't say, oh no, Louisa, let's just stay in bed a bit longer because I just don't want to go for a run, and I can make all these excuses. I haven't got my kit, I haven't got my music. But no, but you've already prepared all of that, and your head is already getting into the space of, I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to listening to this piece of music. My gym kit, my running kit is all clean. So you're already kind of halfway there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and another example, I guess, which works quite well for me, is if I've got to draft an email that I don't really want to draft, or some other piece of copy that I'm struggling with, I'll start setting it up. So in the same way as sort of setting up my running kit for going for a run, is I'll figure out, okay, who is it I'm writing to? What's the subject line? What are the first few sentences, and how's it feeling? Just trying to get into it, and just spending a couple of minutes on starting that task, and then see where your mind goes to. Does your mind actually think, oh, actually, I want to write some more. I've started getting into this. I didn't think I would, but I'm actually going to carry on writing this post or this blog. But if your mind's like, no, still not in it, go for a walk, get away from that space, and then just see what your mind does. And this has happened to me before when I worked for a big organization. I'd often like start an email, then I'd just take myself off for a walk around the office, or go and get a hot chocolate. And then my brain would start to work, and then I'd get a much better idea of what I wanted to add to the rest of the email. But it was just about starting the process, setting myself up for success. And that's my third tip. It's about just starting, but not expecting to get to the outcome there and then, but just seeing if your brain's in the right place to continue doing that task.
Yeah, I really like that. That's really, really nice. The third one. Because you like, when you're not really feeling it, like even trying to get started. Because you saying that just starting, or like I have that when people who come to the gym, like they don't always want to come to the classes, but the hardest part of coming to the gym is getting there.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd agree with me, and they'd be like, oh, I really didn't want to be here today, but now I'm here, I'm happy. Like, you see the people because we've the same people in the class all the time. They have the chats, they do the workout, they go home happy. But it's that thing, it's like it's not the workout, it's the hardest part. It's getting there. And not because we also, like, I suppose in the saying, it's kind of like you book your class to be in the class, so you have to cancel to not come to that class. So it's harder in a sense. It's a barrier to stop you not coming.
Definitely. Yeah, it's all about creating this ease. And I think it's in Atomic Habits, James Clear's book. He talks about somebody going to the gym, and I think the first few times they only went for, like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, but they were going every day and they were creating that routine. And then it kind of snowballed from there, that they'd go for longer. And as you say, it's just they started getting to habit. Well, this is what I do at this time of day.
Yeah.
And then they built it up. But it's about, as I say, it's starting, getting familiar, making sure the environment's right. So I'd say, yeah, habits is a really useful thing to create as part of the structure of your day, once you know what it is that is a regular thing that you need to do. And the thing is, the great thing about a habit, it doesn't have to take an hour. That's often, I think, what we expect, that every task we do, maybe it's because I'm thinking back to being at school, every lesson was like 50 minutes to an hour. The great thing with habits is that they don't have to all take the same amount of time. But if you're doing them on a regular basis, and again, I guess coming back to fitness, and you know a lot more about this than me, if you're doing stretches for a couple of minutes, and you're doing that every day, that's going to be a more powerful thing and have a really positive impact on your body than if you go to gym class, I don't know, once every couple of months. It's the little and often, and building it up, and then getting more excited about, well, now I can do this, I want to do the next thing. So I suppose, yeah, for me, a kind of a centerpiece of my structure, or the structure to my day thing, is about creating those habits so that there's more ease, it's more effortless. And there's less kind of, again, like fitness, it's like you're enjoying what you're doing. I can't quite think of the right word, but it's about putting less pressure on yourself and just enjoying what you're doing, and doing it when you want to, and knowing why you're doing it. And the why comes back to the goals.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like, it's very like the way working with the goals, and like, you think I'll be better at this running my own business, because the goals in fitness and the goals, they're very parallel. It's like people come in and they want to go hell for leather, and it doesn't work in 2 weeks and they give up. Whereas like you're saying, like you doing a class 3-4 times a week or something, you coming 3 times a week is better than someone who comes every 2 months and kills himself for a week and disappears again. So it's all about consistency and staying consistent. And that's what I'm always trying to tell people. I'm like, it's really, really boring getting fit. Like, because people are like to me, how do you train on your own? And I'm like, because I've been doing it for so long, it's part of my day. I like doing it. You mightn't like doing it, so you go to a class, that's fine. But it's part of my day.
No, it's exciting. And I guess, for a lot of people, and again, coming back to the comparing like working for big corporate to working on your own, it's so different, because it's just you. And I guess it takes time to build up to a point where you really enjoy just working on your own. And I guess we're not just entirely working on our own. We're working with our clients, but we don't quite have the same team around us. And we don't necessarily have the same accountability. But I think what I'm looking forward to doing with my clients is being an accountability buddy to them, so that they've got someone to sort of talk to you about. And often we don't talk about this stuff. I mean, I think that when I worked, for a big company, I think there are very few times when I really sort of talked to my boss about my time management. I mean, there were courses offered. And again, it's all about, this is kind of how you should do things. Whereas for me, as a time design coach, it's like, I'm not going to tell you how you should do things. It's like, what do you want? How do you want to work? What are your blockages? What helps you and hinders you from working well? And I think, again, as solopreneurs, you don't necessarily have anyone to talk to about these things. And how do you even start a conversation about it? I think we're expected to kind of know how to do this stuff, but why should we? Because we're all different.
But it's also always been done for you. If you're working in corporate life, the structure's made for you, and you can't expect yourself to just it's like, say, for instance, driving a car. If you've been driven around for 20 years of your life, and now, or even 10, and now you have to go and get in the car, even if it's an automatic, you're gonna not know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And with so many things in life, I think we feel like we should know how to do them. And there's loads of books that we can read about all sorts of different things, including time management or fitness. I mean, I've got a book somewhere here, Sit to Get Fit, and I've got the book, but I haven't really read it. And this is why I think working in partnership with others, particularly when we're working on our own, if we can have buddies to work with, it can really make all the difference. There's a real power in having someone to almost hold you account, but not in a why haven't you done this thing? It's more just, tell me what's going on for you, and just having a thinking partner. I find that really valuable.
But that's it. That's like, even myself, I say that's something I'd struggle with, is accountability to myself. So sometimes if I want to do something, I'll turn around to my partner, or like Vicky in our business group will be saying, I'm doing this, and I'm like, okay, cool, I have to have this done by the end of the week, grand, I have to do it because they said I have to do it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Whereas if I say I have to do it, it'll be 2 months later and I still haven't done it.
Yeah. I feel what works well for me is when I look somebody in the eye, because it's like I'm telling you now that I'm going to do this thing and I really need to do it, or I have a very good reason why I haven't done this thing.
If I say like I'm doing it, I'm like, right, I have to do it now. Shit. I might do it the day before, but it'll be done by the deadline.
Yeah, and like deadlines is an interesting thing as well. And again, going back to what life used to be like when we worked, for big corporates, you have that. I think there are a lot more deadlines, whereas now they're often quite arbitrary, and easier to maybe negotiate with yourself. Well, I don't really want to do this thing today. I'll do it tomorrow. So yeah, as I go on this journey of being a solopreneur, I just feel like it's kind of like I take my hat off to people who've been in the game longer than me, you included, because it sounds like you've been in the game a lot longer. That we have so many hats on, and we have so many decisions that we need to be making, and yeah, structuring our day, it feels like a really important part of just keeping us sane.
Yeah.
And the only thing, if it's like one thing that I'd really encourage people to do, is to really think about how often they want to take breaks, and also what are you going to do in those breaks, because it's very easy to be like, okay, I'll take a break and I'll just check my phone. Great, you could do that for a bit of the time, but I'd really encourage you to do things that actually relax you, take you out of yourself, nourish you. But it's a really personal thing. What do you need in that moment? And I think we often just go to our mobile phones for that kind of comfort or whatever. Exactly, when there's other things we could do. And I mean, like, I guess putting the question back to you again, if you've got like a 15-minute break, as a sort of fitness expert, what would you say would be a good thing to do to kind of get your blood circulating a bit more? What can you do in that kind of time frame of just 15 minutes?
Have a little stroll around the house. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
I've like, I suppose one of the things of fitness, people underestimate the little things that help. So like if you are, say, on a certain journey, going for a little walk, 10-minute walk, just getting some fresh air, getting out of where you are, can make such a huge difference, and people don't realize that, and that's a big thing I think that people are missing.
Yeah. So I always go for a break at lunchtime, and I used to do that at work. And if I didn't get out at lunchtime, I'd kind of pay for it in the afternoon, and I'd know it. I'd feel it in my body.
Yeah, I suppose I spend, like, people be coming into the gym and I'll be in the gym all morning when I've left it, like, and they'd be like, God, it's cold out today. I'm like, yeah, I didn't notice. But then I will be out, like, I go out to the horse and say hello to him and go home. And so I would be out and about through the day, like.
And that connection with your horse, it doesn't have to be long, but again, I guess it's taking you out of your current state, and you're connecting with him. And I think this is what I like about just being outside in nature and just watching all the birds kind of flying around and just listening to them singing. I guess it's about getting into a different state. And if you're having a stressful day, I think meditation, or doing some kind of mindful activity, going for a walk, these are all really good things, for our mental and our physical health. And as you say, I don't know why we don't think that these things can make a difference when they're for a short time. But again, if we can make them into regular routines, they're also things that then we look forward to and we can go to if we're having a tricky day. But they're just so important for keeping us sane. Because as solopreneurs, I mean, you were saying earlier about, if you're not working, you're not earning. If we're running ourselves down, it's the same thing. If we get ourselves into a cycle where we're just working super long hours because we're really unclear about where we're going in our businesses, and we're just all guns blazing on loads of different projects and just confusing ourselves and knacking ourselves out, that's not good for us mentally or physically. So this is why having breaks is a really important foundation stone, whether it be through fitness or some other activity. These are things that will keep us in the game longer. And I want to work with people who really care about the businesses that they're running. And if you've got a passion for something, it's very easy to work 5, 6, 7 days a week, but it's kind of like, but at what cost? Hence the importance of the balance, to kind of keep all those different plates spinning to some degree, but trying to manage those plates, and maybe not having quite so many in the first place. So that comes back to what I was saying about goals, being really clear about what plates we want to be spinning and why we're spinning them.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. Speak about working with people. Can you work with you now, and how do you do that?
Yes, people can work with me. So I guess, yeah, the best place to find me is either on Instagram, and you'll probably give the handle in the sort of
The
blurb
show notes,
underneath.
yeah.
Cool. So that's, yeah, just at Louisa Daubney, or through my website, which is louisadaubney.co.uk. So I've got two offers at the moment. One is quite a short term, sort of short burst, which is like a 60-minute power hour. You can come to me if there's something really kind of tricky, something challenging that you kind of want to get unstuck on, something that's really important to you in regard to time management challenge, and we can work through what's stopping you from doing that thing and how to maybe create some structure or habits around it. So that would be like a short burst for 60 minutes. Or I've got a program which I've just relaunched, which is called Rebalance, which is 6 sessions, and that's all about really focusing on how to get into some better habits, creating structure, really understanding how what your relationship is with time.
Yes. Oh, I like that relationship with time, because I think I was saying this to you before we started, like I love the time design thing as opposed to time management, because time management feels like you have to, like, take control, or take it back almost, whereas with time design you're in control from the start. And I think that to me sounds way better. Like, I'm designing my time, I'm not managing my time because something's going wrong. I'm designing it the way it works for me.
Yeah, thank you for summarizing it in that way. I think definitely it's about putting us in the driver's seat of our days, and there shouldn't be someone else telling us how to do it, now that we're solopreneurs particularly.
Yeah, and like you said, all the time management books tell you how you're supposed to do it, where it just helps you work what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're all different, and it's about valuing and honoring that. And
Yeah.
even within a day or within a week, we'll be facing different challenges or feeling different moods. So it's important to honor ourselves and just be as intuitive. I think what I'm interested in is just being a bit more intuitive about, how we're feeling today. How do we get into a flow state? We haven't even talked about flow states. That might have to be another time, but I guess I'm really interested in how we create the environment for doing our best work.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. There is one other thing I have to ask you, because I forgot to say it beforehand. This is a question that I ask everybody, and I like to spring it on people, but what is the best advice you've ever been given?
Oh, wow.
You can pick 3 if you need to.
What's the best advice I've ever been given? I think, okay, so this will be about being a bit of a perfectionist. So I'm hoping now I'm a recovering perfectionist. And it's that whole 80-20 rule of, it's kind of like, just make it good enough. It doesn't need to be perfect. And I think that's been a really important lesson for me, because I'm always striving for perfection, but perfection is something that I think none of us can really, it's very hard to achieve, and we'll be working ourselves incredibly hard if we're trying to get to perfection with anything we're doing. So I think for me, it's about that 80-20 rule, for it to be good enough. So I think that's the best advice I was given when I heard about this concept of 80-20, and just to accept good enough rather than striving for perfection. So I think it just takes us off lots of hooks if we focus on imperfection, really. The imperfect perfect.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that one, actually. It's funny because I'm very good at that when it comes to the fitness element, but when it comes to other parts of my life, I'm like, why aren't you doing everything perfectly? I'm like, come on, you've got this down on one area of your life.
Good question, thank you.
Yeah, I love this one. I always, and I never tell people they're going to get it until I ask them, and they're always like, ah!
No, that's good. No, it's and it's also good to go with, what's coming up for us, as a result of this conversation, or what's in my head at the time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you want to remind everyone again where they can find you?
Okay, so on Instagram you can find me at Louisa Daubney, and my surname is Daubney. So that's where I post, and I've done some Instagram live, so you can hear a bit more about what I've been talking about. And then my website is just www.louisadaubney.co.uk.
Brilliant.
And spaces.
Sweet. And as ever, guys, you can find me. I have 2 Instagrams. One is my main fitness page, or well, kind of more of a social page now. It's Chrissy H Fitness. Then I have my equestrian fitness, which is at strong the saddle with an underscore. On TikTok, it's without the underscore. And then my website is www.chrissyhawkins.com. So I just want to say thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you. No, it's been a pleasure. Thanks, Chrissy.
I really do appreciate everybody who listens to this podcast. So if you please could help me with the algorithm and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And even, if you want to reach out and suggest topics for me, I'd be delighted to hear from you. Drop me a DM on Instagram or TikTok. And thanks again for listening.